Nice eyeball.
Nice ass.
Hello my friends and welcome back to Player Display. So today we're going to have a look at two weirdos from the Marvel Rogues Gallery. On the left we have the retro-carded 90s animated Spider-Man TV version of Scorpion, along with the Marvel Legends ORB, who's more of a Ghost Rider villain, but as far as I'm concerned, he at least showed up in one panel fighting Spider-Man, so as far as I'm concerned, he's a Spider-Man villain too, so good by me. And I really just love those bonkers, weird-ass villains from the comics, so you got a guy with an eyeball for a head. Obviously I need him for the shelf. So this is going to be a 2-for-1 review, pretty much, and really we're going to do those when we have two figures where it's not a whole lot to say. I mean, it's not to say they're bad or anything, but maybe we've seen them already before. And that can pretty much be said about these two guys. I mean, they're both repaints, effectively. I mean, for Scorpion, he has been done before. You've seen this exact same figure already, but he was kind of more in just like this emblazoned dark green, and that was kind of it. It was a little bit bland, but in this case, the paint apps are a lot better. As for Orb, we haven't seen this character before, but he does have the infamous Bucky cap body mold, which I've never had a really big deal with, but a lot of people absolutely despise it. But for this figure, I mean, it works great. And I guess the last note before we hop into these guys is obviously they have pretty much nothing to do with each other. I'm not the kind of guy who goes ahead and collects full waves of figures. They each come from separate waves. Like here we have a retro card and here we have a Build-A-Figure. We'll get to that later. For me, it's more a matter of I go on an online shop and I'm like, all right, I'll take that one there, I'll take that guy over there, I'll take two of those to army build, I don't really want that one, and then I'll take that big guy over there. And then my wallet scurries off somewhere in my apartment to cry in a corner. If you're only interested in seeing a review on one of these guys, that's totally fine. I will have timestamps in the description. But for now, I think we're going to go ahead and start with my favorite of these two, who is absolutely the Orb. So let's get into him. So I opened this guy quite a while ago, as you could probably suspect, but I always keep the boxes handy until I do a full review, and then I chop them up in the aftermath. But as you see, we have a straight-up product shot of the figure itself, and on the side you have some really awesome artwork of the character, which is probably a lot more menacing than Orb deserves, but hell, I love it anyways. Going off to this side, you have the Build-A-Figure, who is Puff Adder, who I know absolutely nothing about and have no intent on completing whatsoever. And then down here you also have the names of the other figures in this wave who you need in order to build this big fellow over here. On the back you have the Orb, who is of course from the Orb. As a person who doesn't actually read the comics, I know pretty much nothing about this guy, and even doing my usual rounds on YouTube to learn more about these characters I know next to nothing about, I still couldn't find a whole lot about him, except that he's a Ghost Rider villain, he's kind of born with some kind of mutation or whatever, and he's got an eyeball, and then he acquires superpowers at some point, and he has a motorcycle. You get a good presentation of the figure. You have another product shot, the accessories he comes with, in this case, pretty minimalistic. We just have this one weird firearm of sorts, and they also have the two parts that go with Puff Adder, which again isn't a main focus of this video. Going on down, I feel like we haven't done this in a while, but regardless, here we are with some tradition. We have our best friend,
Sword Onions,
followed by his lesser cousins.
I am Superman.
Green Arrow.
Aslan.
C.
You.
Canada.
And of course,
EAC.
bottom, well, who cares? When it comes to first impressions of the Orb, it really can be boiled down to one simple saying, my eye is up here. It looks pretty good. I mean, the joints stick out a little bit more than one would prefer, but the colors show up. I mean, you got the cuffs on the wrists, you got the shoes and all that, and it's just a very vibrant and fun looking figure, so let's have an eyeball at his eyeball. As you can suspect, there's probably going to be a fair share of puns throughout the review of this guy. Honestly, the head sculpt, or eye sculpt, is what makes or breaks this figure. If they poorly executed this eye, then there would be no reason to get it, but they did a really good job. I mean, I guess they did photoreal on one giant eye, which I suppose is life-size to an actual human being. I really don't know, but It looks pretty cool. I really love the very pretty printed on iris, pupil and everything. You got a little bit of a white glare off to the side. Not just a natural glare, as you can see with the light. You can kind of see the printed on texture, but you do see there is a printed on white spot there to simulate that, hey, the light is over here, or the sun or whatever, or the spotlight of his hot rod arena. And going around to the sides, you got some veins, which are really well executed, actually quite organic looking. But when it gets to the back, it gets quite plain. I kind of wish that perhaps they would have found a way to kind of continue those beautiful details going back, whether they just extended the veins, or maybe they did something interesting in the back, like to indicate that it kind of came out of the head or something like that. But honestly, I mean, you're going to be staring this guy head on from the front anyhow. I don't know why you'd want to look at the back. On the back, it's kind of just ping pong ball man. I guess you get two characters in one. Just flip around the head. There you go. Ping pong ball man. Or Mysterio. Hey, alright, maybe it's 3. Going down to the outfit, I really love the execution. Again, we've seen his body already, but as I've said before, I'm okay with reuse as long as they could justify it with a nice paint job. And they did a really nice job. I mean, just flat out classic Americana, red, blue, stars, all that crap. You also do have something else unique for this figure. He has this collar piece, which I think is floating. It does float up a little bit. You see a little bit of that flesh. Not a problem for me. It's all good. As for the neck, it is flesh tone. I'm considering maybe I'll paint that in white or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and look at some reference photos. Maybe I'll do something with it. The arms, nothing too special. Kind of bulky musculature, which looks pretty cool. They also have some really big gloves, which are familiar to many of us, especially veteran collectors out there. And you also have a continuation of the blue with the stars, and then a little bit of a parting on either side of the glove. No, it's just on that one side. Never mind. I actually really like the belt. I think it's very prettily executed. Another word for the dictionary on player display. I really like how the blue is applied. I feel like they could have very easily slopped up, but they did a very nice job. It doesn't blend it onto the white too much. Maybe a silver buckle would have been cool, but it's not too bad. They have some neat little pouches off to the side. What's in there? Who knows? So many Marvel characters have pouches, and the contents of which will never be known until the end of time. Down the legs, it's just pretty much slate red, which is okay. I like when classic Marvel characters like this are very minimalistic and plain. I enjoy that. That's why I prefer these over the MCU figures. That's just my taste when it comes to action figures. And then down to the boots. Boots are boots. I say it again. Although I will say they do have a nice texture to them, kind of almost like a leathery looking material. So pretty cool. Accessories are quite boring, but still the few that he comes with are kind of nice. I mean, first of all, you have this ray gun. I don't know what this shoots. Is it bullets, a laser? I really don't know, but it's molded in a pretty good gunmetal, looking very nice. Very cartoonish design. If you tried telling me what type of real-world gun this is, I probably wouldn't believe you. It's very outlandish, as it should be, but then pretty much the main talking point is over here, where you kind of got like an eyeball end of the gun after the McFarlane accessory pack review. I'm very intimidated by using gun terminology because I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, as was very evident. But yeah, it looks like an eye. It's got some nice green accents on the inside, and there's a little hole in there, almost suggesting that maybe you could port in a blast effect, though it looks a little too small. I don't think anything that we have from Marvel Legends could fit in there, but it would have been nice if we had something. Getting it in the hand, easier done than said. You just slot it in, nice and smooth, not too tight or anything. Imagine just little tiny eyeballs shooting out of this thing. Boing, 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 boing. And I don't think many people care too much about this, but if you're building your puff adder, which I will not be doing, unfortunately, here are the parts he comes with. We have his right arm, you have a swivel, you got the in and out joint for the hand. You have some, I mean, it's well painted and all that. Again, since this is reuse of Bucky Cap, this is going to be a pretty boring articulation session for veteran collectors out there, but for those of you who are new, we do have that much down and a pretty okay mount back. Pretty much nothing. No side to side whatsoever, but he swivels just fine. I think that's really all you want. And then down here, everything is very familiar. You have very good ab crunch back, very good ab crunch forward, swivel in the waist, on the arms, swivel all the way around, hinge out, hinge back in, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that get a little bit stopped by the glove, but not too bad anyhow. As for the hands, they do a swivel. They hinge in and out on the both of them, even though this one is more trigger hand, so that's really cool. As for the legs, they kick that much out, full 90. Kick back, not a whole ton, and they kind of V out because of the butt, so not a whole lot there. Off to the side, just shy of 90. You have a thigh swivel. You got a knee double joint going back that far. You also have a calf swivel just over the boot. As for the ankles, that far back. Gets a little stuck, but that far forward. And then you also have your typical rocker. So, just fine. I like this figure a lot. Really fun. Now that brings us to 90 Scorpion, who I've actually had mint in box since like late January, I think. Mainly because I got preoccupied with some other Marvel Legends figure. For the life of me, I can't remember which. As you can tell, in contrast to ORB, he comes from a totally different line of Marvel Legends, being that he's part of the retro collection. So he's got the classic, nostalgic retro blister board, or whatever you want to call it. So you got the bubble in the front, you have a picture of him up there, and I really like how the retro packaging has that very childish scorpion sting, as if it's trying to sell it to a younger collector, which I find very admirable. I think it's really cute. Have Spider-Man up there, of course, more harkening to the 1990s animated show. Also have a very beautiful New York skyline. I really love that. I actually took several of these cards and made kind of a diorama. It was a little flimsy, but I think I have that somewhere. Off to the back, if he had more accessories with his figure, then you'd probably see them displayed here, but he has none at all. It's just him and his big old tail. But another difference from the ORB packaging, we do get a bio for this guy, so you can read that over here in whatever language you prefer. And that takes us down to the actual Scorpion figure, who's pretty cool. I did try the show. It was before my time. I was born in 99, and obviously the show was running before 99. But yeah, I did watch a little bit of it on Disney Plus, and it was pretty fun. I never finished it. It was a little too fast-paced for me, but I did watch in deep enough to at least see the Mac Gargan arc. He was pretty early on, like in season 1. But yeah, he's basically just an average Joe who got a super serum to destroy Spider-Man, and as you can suspect, didn't quite pan out, but he's a pretty cool, classic-looking Spider-Man villain. I mean, it's pretty much tradition that we have Spider-Man being our red hero, then you have a whole bunch of green villains like Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Frogman, who I have off to the side here and we'll have a look at. Then we got Scorpion, so I mean, it's just another green animal-themed villain. Fine by me. I unfortunately do not own the original Scorpion to compare him with, but from what I could tell from other reviews that I've seen, this head sculpt is the same, but the paint is totally redone. I think I guess balaclava or whatever you'd like to call it that goes around the face, it kind of cuffed around the mouth a little bit more, but now the flesh is a little bit more exposed, and you kind of have this really nice looking luchador pattern going around it. I mean, you got the domino mask, but then it goes back to the cowl, and then you have your different greens. I really like those sharp corners to make them a little bit more edgy, no pun intended. Then you have a little bit of a chin guard thing down there, and if you get really closely to the eyes, you definitely see the photoreal details. It's very pixelated, which it doesn't really matter. I mean, from a distance, even back here, can't tell at all. Everything kind of just blends right in, looking very nice and natural, really cool. Have some ears popping out on the side, and then you have a continuation of a lime green stripe going onto the back. Very nice. Onto the body, I actually really like how this is executed. Again, minimalistic, classic comics, good by me, very cartoony. Standard latex body pretty much, but you have a nice shine to it, along with some really nicely executed grooves going horizontally, and it just adds a lot of more shape to this figure. They could have just made him flat, but I think that really helps him out a little bit. Continues down to the arms, then you get some more gloves, which is kind of a staple for these retro Marvel villains, looking really cool, again in that dark green. Off to the hips, I'm actually just noticing this now, but continuing up from kind of the diaper, you have these two green little poison ivy looking spikes looking pretty cool. Down to the legs, more of that segmented, almost like Winter Soldier arm design. Again, you got those horizontal lines going on, and then you get some boots, Boots are boots. I say it again. And then off to the back, I mean, here's his namesake. You got the scorpion tail. It starts off on this pouch, which I can't tell if it's removable or not. It's definitely not 100% secure. It is a softer plastic than the rest of this for obvious reasons we're about to get into right now. So here we have the titular scorpion tail of this figure. And a few notes about this. First of all, it's really cool. I love how massive it is. You can bend it pretty much any which way you want. You know what? Let me go ahead and back out a little bit. It's quite long, definitely longer than a foot. You can bend it any way you like. Off to the very tip, you get a nice little spike there for impaling Spider-Man. And the second note here is, as great as this figure is, it makes me a little bit pissed off at the re-release of Doc Ock. As we saw, we did a review of Doc Ock when he re-released with a newly engineered silk, which was really cool, but then we spent like a good, hour and a half doing a customizer's journal to give him posable limbs, and then you get this figure who released before him, who already had a bendable tail. So Hasbro, what the hell? You could have done this already. But then again, they are releasing a 90s version of Doc Ock that does have the bendable tendrils, but I like the comic version more, so I wish they could have done this prematurely, but whatever. I got over that a long time ago when I actually received this guy from Big Bad Toy Store, so I don't care anymore, but from a technical standpoint, they could have did that already. Returning this Scorpion and his own merits. Very cool figure. A lot of fun. Onto articulation, which I can only assume is nothing different from the original. Again, it's just a repaint and nothing more. You have that much down in the neck. The neck joint's a little bit awkward. But yeah, you can crunch all the way into his pecs. He can look straight out. Actually, it's very good. It's a shame he's not a flying character. That would have been very useful. Swivels, no problem. A little bit of tilt, side to side. Very nice. As for the abs, it's not a crunch, unlike Orb, but you do have a swivel. Nothing forward. He has a little back, but it gets stuck on the backpack right there. The arms swivel all the way around. Not much up. Actually, very good. You also have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, both wrists swivel, and then hinge out and back in. Same goes for this one. You have a fist and you have an open. As for the waist, you got a swivel. On the legs, you got kick out to not quite a 90. Kick back, not too much again because you got that butt in the way. But kicks forward past 90, so that's pretty nice. And you can kick, you can sting. Yeah, get a good fatality in there. Got a thigh swivel. Got double jointed knees going all the way there. You got a calf swivel just above the boot. Then as for the ankles, you got back, forward, and rocker. Nothing to complain about. Solid figure. Not too bad. Now we're going to go ahead and attempt to do some size comparisons with Scorpion's big tail in the way. So we have these two villains alongside their respective heroes who are meant to fight them. On the left, we have the very controversial six-armed Spider-Man, who I've highly modified. I panel-lined him with some black Gundam marker and also gave him the hands from the Hand Ninja. So many body part puns in this video. And then we also have Ghost Rider, the version that came with the bike on the right, to accompany the orb. Now to get them next to some more heroes and weirdos, we have Webman off to the side here, who is actually a little bit more level with Scorpion than I thought. The other Spider-Man we just looked at was considerably shorter, but interesting. But a Spider-Man that I do think is better scaled is the No Way Home Spider-Man, and this is one of the only MCU figures that I have. Pretty much my entire figure is Spider-Man comic-centric, albeit with a few exceptions, this being one of them. So those are the videos you can expect in the Marvel realm. It's mostly just going to be classic Spider-Man stuff. And then over here we of course have Frogman from the Stiltman wave, which is one of the only Build-A-Figure waves I've ever actually bothered to go out of my way and complete, interestingly enough. And then down here we have our Star Wars The Black Series Muck Muck. Roadkill. So I wanted to try one more thing as an experiment. First of all, we have Ghost Rider over here on his bike. And then, of course, we have the Orb, who did not come with one. I think that would have been a nice thing to have with him, especially considering how I forgot to mention he does not come with alternate hands. So I think to pimp him out, they could have given him a motorcycle. So regardless, I gave him one. This is the bike from McFarlane, being the Batman's drifter motorcycle. And it works okay. It's definitely a little oversized, and it's stylistically very different. This one's more grounded in reality. ORB is a lot more comic-y, obviously, but it works. I dig this. It looks pretty cool. I don't think any of these figures are required for a Marvel collection, let alone a Spider-Man one, but they're both a lot of fun. For Scorpion over here, you of course have a repaint which is more accurate to the 90s TV cartoon, so if you were alive during that time and you got nostalgia for that, then this is a good Scorpion to go for. But if you're like me and you didn't have the initial release of Scorpion, but you still like the classic comic villains, this is a pretty good shoe-in, despite it being a little bit of a departure from the comic variant, but I'm fine with it. I mean, he's Scorpion and he's green. That works for me. And he looks like a cartoon straight out of the pages. Same can be said for ORB. Also looks very minimalistic and cartoony. I dig that a lot. And I just love having those weirdo Spider-Man villains for my shelf, like Frogman, White Rabbit, Stiltman. Again, more of a Daredevil villain, but regardless, he's still a lot of fun. Again, it's all about the eye up here. I mean, the rest of this figure can't even be bothered, but the fact that it's just an eyeball for a head, it doesn't matter. It just brings me so much joy. I love him a lot. So that's really all for this review. I mean, they're both pretty simple figures. Again, mostly reuse, but well done in each respect, and they're a lot of fun. So if you enjoyed this review, especially if you're new here, then please, as per usual, be sure to like, comment,
And subscribe.
Or leave a bad review for your favorite comic book movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Thanks a lot again, rock on, and I will see you all later. I just really friggin' hate getting all these extra bath parts for figures I don't care to complete. I think I only have maybe 1 or 2 Marvel Build-A-Figure figures in my collection. That's how little I care about these, and these kind of just drift in the wind, and I kind of just have them, and that's pretty much it. I don't know, maybe collect enough and you can Frankenstein your own creation or something. I might do that one day.